Does cyberbullying actually work? Oh God, maybe that shouldn't be the lesson we take from this. But NASCAR hears the fans and heard the outcry, and they're now opening the track for free for a NASCAR race in Los Angeles on Saturday, February 3rd. Where do you go? What time? We have all the details and the latest NASCAR news coming up next on Shifting Gears.
High, push it, checker flag, hell yeah!
What's the caution for? Me?
Can I not push it in?
Stop anybody.
Come on, these guys! You're waiting out, boys! One hell of a job, man, one hell of a job! Thank you so much.
I am still a sick Alan Bailey. I apologize, but do me a favor, help me feel better and mash that subscribe button so that you come back for the next video. And you can also check out our second gaming and esport channel, Team Chaos, with the link in the description down below. And as always, log on to arnrace.com for the latest motorsports news in between videos. ARN, the Motorsports Authority. I'm sick, and to address the elephant in the room, no, Team Chaos did not unfortunately start the 24 Hours of Daytona this morning. Long story short, we had a technical issue and my health wasn't at 100%, so we unfortunately had to pull out of this year's running, and I'm, bummed out about it. I'm frustrated by it, but I'm not at 100% still, obviously. I'm still getting over a cold/bacterial infection from some black mold at my place. So because of that, no Daytona 24 this year, unfortunately. But the show must go on, so let's actually talk about the headlines and everything that's happening in NASCAR. First off, Kyle Busch, he and RCR announced that Zone Premium Nicotine Pouches are going to be one of their primary sponsors for a majority of the races in 2024. It was also announced that due to different regulation changes, 3Chi, the marijuana brand, will not be on Kyle Busch's car in 2024 or for the foreseeable future. They are hoping to come back on the car sometime later this year once regulations get worked out with advertising and regulations here in the United States. But the 3Chi products with Kyle Busch on the Cushmaster line are still available online. And honestly, I kind of saw that coming, not going to lie. I think it's funny that Kyle Busch was the guy that couldn't find sponsors at Joe Gibbs Racing, and RCR's over here signing deals with nicotine products and with whiskey, and they're getting it done. Speaking of which, The Athletic did an interview with Kyle Busch, Jordan Bianchi did, and they talked about the Joe Gibbs Racing drama and sponsors, and Kyle Busch came out and candidly said Joe Gibbs Racing put all of their eggs in one sponsor's basket after they signed a deal over in Red Bull in F1, and when that deal fell apart, Joe Gibbs Racing didn't have a plan B, but taking a step back and really looking at this, yeah, Joe Gibbs Racing put all their eggs in a single sponsor's basket to afford Kyle Busch, and then they had a younger version of Kyle Busch that had sponsors attached that also had Gibbs as his last name coming on up. Obviously, it was a no-brainer for Gibbs. It was the best financial decision, the best legacy decision for them with Ty Gibbs coming on up, because Ty Gibbs over there at Joe Gibbs Racing is the future, like it or not, and Kyle Busch is on the back end of his career. I'll say it. He's a guy who's got maybe another 5-6 years, give or take, in him, maybe less, maybe more, depending on how healthy he stays and how competitive he stays over at RCR, but to me, it's just Kyle Busch not getting over his Joe Gibbs Racing X, and it's also, I think, a little bit of resentment because Kyle Busch, I think, is realizing there are limits to his RCR Chevy, which are limits he never really had over at Joe Gibbs Racing. So, yes, they won some races in 2023, but I think that RCR definitely has a little bit of an uphill battle, particularly with that 3 car moving into 2024. We're going to have to wait and see. We also found out that AM Racing is not going to be fielding a second car, the number 25 Ford, full-time in 2024, instead moving the owner points from 2023 from the 25 to the 15 for rookie Hailie Deegan. Hailie Deegan came with sponsors, man, and she's fully sponsored, and they're still looking for some help from Ford and from another sponsor to fill out that number 25, but that 25 is going to be part-time in 2024. more backing from Ford was promised, but so far not delivered to AM Racing. Not a big surprise there at all. And we're also hearing that this was the ride that Matty D walked away from. He came on social media this week and basically gave an update saying that they walked away from a sponsor deal, and we're hearing the exact opposite, that he did not walk away from the sponsors walked away from him. And regardless, whatever helps Matty D sleep at night, whatever he's got to tell himself, let him tell himself. I think he's done full-time in NASCAR, and I'd be surprised if we see him back even part-time. Simply put, a lot of sponsors don't want to deal with his personality, and he has rubbed NASCAR the wrong way, and NASCAR is not too happy with him. So I don't think NASCAR is doing anything behind the scenes. I'm not insinuating that. I'm not saying that. Please don't take that from this. I'm simply saying that the odds are stacked against Matty D, and no sponsor wants to touch him right now. So I think he's done in NASCAR. Honestly, I think we've seen the last of him, but I could be wrong. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. This one kind of shocked me a little bit. Marco Andretti going to be running 14 ARCA Menards races in 2024 with Cook Racing Technologies, and they have a deal with Roper Racing, which is based out of Texas, to field the number 04 truck for 7 truck races for Andretti, starting at Circuit of the Americas in March. Listen, he had a blast over at SRX. There's no shock here whatsoever that he wants to get more involved with NASCAR. I question the teams he's running for. It seems like he built up a pretty decent relationship with Spire, and I'm surprised Spire isn't backing him in the Truck Series in a third entry part-time, but it doesn't look like that will be the case. Spire hasn't 100% announced their plans for 2024, but we're hearing Raja Karut's going over there in potentially the number 77 truck. We're going to have to wait and see what happens over at Spire, but I like an Andretti in NASCAR. That's big for NASCAR. I hate that it's in ARCA and the Truck Series, the two hands-down worst series in NASCAR right now. I personally would rather see him in the Xfinity Series, but the Xfinity Series is significantly more expensive than ARCA, so I think he's just trying to get his feet wet a little bit, maybe enjoy his life. He's not really thinking, at least right now, full-time, but, you know, could be wrong. We could see him jump into NASCAR full-time maybe next year or the following year if things go good in 2024 for Marco Andretti. NASCAR dropped a massive piece of news this week that I honestly never thought that they would do. NASCAR's Ben Kennedy made the announcement on social media.
Hey race fans, we've heard you loud and clear. I am happy to announce that on Saturday, February 3rd at the LA Coliseum, we're gonna be opening our gates free to the public for practice, qualifying, and heat races for NASCAR Mexico Series and the NASCAR Cup Series. That is regardless of if you have a ticket to Sunday or not. And if you're thinking about coming out to Sunday, but you haven't bought a ticket yet, you can go to NASCARclash.com. We have our NASCAR Mexico Series, which for the first time is gonna be coming to the LA Coliseum. The last chance race for our NASCAR Cup Series, and of course our headliner, the Busch Light Clash at the Coliseum, which is going to run that Sunday afternoon. In addition to that, we're going to have Machine Gun Kelly and Dylan Francis performing, so it's going to be a really special day.
Wow. I hate to think that cyberbullying a massive corporation works, but apparently it does. I don't want that to be the lesson, but that feels like the lesson. Damn. But in all seriousness, I love the fact that NASCAR did this. They made a decision for one reason or another. We don't know the official reason why they initially were closing Saturday to the public. And then they saw how that upset fans, and they kind of realized internally, hey, yeah, that's not right. And they made that decision to not only open up the racetrack to fans, but make it a free event. Holy crap. Like, I saw this and I started sending it to non-NASCAR fans that I know in town, and almost every single one of them said, it's free? Oh, I'm definitely coming. Oh, I'm definitely bringing the kids. Saturday might legitimately sell out. When last couple of years when we've run these heat races, maybe the grandstands are 25-35% full, if that, and I'm being generous. So NASCAR, I think, was doing the right thing not having the track open on Saturday to paying fans, and now they've gone the 180 and they've opened the track up to everyone. Regardless if you have a ticket to Sunday or not, you can get into this race. and I'm just blown away. Looking at the actual schedule for Saturday, gates are opening to the fans at 10 a.m. on Saturday. Then 10:15 is the first NASCAR Mexico Series practice, followed by the second one at 11:45. Then qualifying for the NASCAR Mexico Series at 1:30. Then 3:10 you have NASCAR Cup Series practice / qualifying, with the first heat race getting underway around 5:30 local time. So right after it gets dark, right as it's getting dark, sun's going down, and the rest of the 4 heat races will be under the lights, which just so cool. I love that NASCAR's doing this. And NASCAR's Ben Kennedy also confirmed that it's going to be Gate 1 at the south side of the stadium that will be opening at 10 a.m. local time. So if you are a NASCAR diehard that wants to get into this, and I highly suggest that you do, get there at 9 a.m. Sincerely, get there early, find some parking. You're still going to have to pay for parking because it's Los Angeles parking, but honestly, this is a great thing. Vendors are going to be open so you can get all your merchandise, and I just love that NASCAR is doing this. Sincerely, I cannot give NASCAR enough kudos for this move, because I think it's the perfect way to bring in casual race fans, especially in Los Angeles, and non-race fans to get into this race. It's going to be absolutely phenomenal, but make sure that you stay logged on to arnrace.com for the latest information about the LA Clash. I cannot wait. Sincerely, this is going to be so much fun. I can't wait to see y'all that Saturday. And as always, or at least for the last week or so, we will go ahead and open up the mailbag, your comments from our past videos, including this video. We will start with Mr. 241. So Alan, my question, because nobody in NASCAR will ever really answer it, what do you think NASCAR has to do to become more profitable? It's scary to see how some drivers are having a tough time finding sponsors when the sport is getting so expensive for owners, especially the small guy. They said this new next-gen car would do that, but you still need sponsors. Yeah, you're always going to need sponsors in NASCAR, I think, depending on what the next deal with the charter system does. I couldn't tell you, honestly, because so many things are up in the air with this negotiation right now. It is ongoing. It's something that they have until the end of the month. So as of this video, they have about 11 days to figure it out. When they will figure that out, I don't know, but that's going to dictate the future financial stability of NASCAR for at least the next 10 years, if not the next 20, 30, 50 years, honestly. I hope they come up with something fair. I'm hearing they are offering the teams more money from the TV deal, which is super necessary, but this has always and will always be a rich man's sport, period. There's no way around that. And yes, I do think that there is a future where we won't have to have multiple sponsors on a car. We could get back potentially to the days of having one sponsor on the car for the entire season, but that would take an astronomical amount of money coming from NASCAR to the race teams, / from the TV deal, / from sponsor income. There's a lot of factors here. But to the first part of that question, what can NASCAR do to be more profitable? If I knew the answer to that, I would have told NASCAR, and they would have probably done it by now. That's the literal $1 million question. Yes, the cars were supposed to help cut the cost for teams, and they have in some regards, but they've also cost the teams because you're essentially buying these pieces instead of paying personnel to create them in-house from scratch. Wandering Jew Adventures has the race must end under green rule from the 2022 All-Star race, so I'm skeptical. Yeah, referring to the clash that's happening here in a couple of weeks. That has me a little concerned as well. But honestly, I do think that it is possible, and I do think that it's reasonable to go ahead and put that in there because you want this race to end under green. It's not that hard. Add a few extra laps. I don't think fuel is going to be an issue, but I do think that the fans deserve to see this race end under green. I do think that that's kind of the base all the way around. So, yeah, the clash this year in 2024 is going to be interesting. It could potentially be the last clash in LA, which is kind of bummed me out a little bit, honestly. But I think with the status of the California Speedway in Fontana being undetermined and undefined at the moment, I think NASCAR could potentially sign a 1 or 2 year extension to keep the LA Clash in Los Angeles at the LA Memorial Coliseum. It was NASCAR's first big experiment with stadium racing, and a lot of people doubted it, and a lot of people still do, but The fact of the matter is it did what the Clash in Daytona couldn't the last few years for Daytona, and that's fill the stands and have people tune in to watch the race on TV. Both went to the crapper, and we saw a dramatic drop in attendance, a dramatic drop in TV ratings when it was at Daytona, even when they went to the road course that one year. And it just wasn't sustainable for NASCAR or the sport anymore. So NASCAR went where the ratings are, and they created a once-a-year amazing preseason show that I really, really, really like, and I hope to see them back in 2025, but we're going to have to wait and see what happens in 2024 first. Great hit Nick, 30-34. I don't see how Jimmy Johnson driving again matters to his Hall of Fame status. Him driving 9 races doesn't erase what he's done in his career. He retired from full-time racing. They don't give Dale Earnhardt Jr. the same hate when he races, such a double standard. Yeah, and great hit Nick, I'm going to tell you straight up, it's a manufacturer thing. When Jimmy Johnson went to Toyota, I think his fans turned on him, and I hate that. I hate that Toyota is still, even now, almost 20 years after they've entered the sport, is still kind of the black sheep manufacturer in the garage area. I get the diehards will always, be, American built, but the Toyota motors and parts and pieces are made in Southern California. They are, for all accounts, an American team, but they can't get behind them. It's weird to me. Kyle Busch, when he was with Toyota, he was hated, and when he went to RCR this year, he was loved. And I think that that's the diehard NASCAR fan who's been a fan since the 80s plus. And as a guy who's been into NASCAR since the 90s, I don't get it. And maybe that's because I identify with a younger audience right now than the older audience, but I hate it. I absolutely hate it. And you're right. I mean, he is a Hall of Fame driver, and he's the first to be in the Hall of Fame now. He was enshrined last night with Chad Knaus, rightfully so. And because of that, there's a stigmatism around that. I don't know why. I don't get it. I don't think it diminishes his career. It's just so difficult to do this nowadays. I don't see it ever happening again. And the fact that he is struggling with, frankly, an underfunded race team, his own race team right now, shouldn't really dictate how we remember him. But unfortunately it is, because it's the last time we will be seeing him in a car in the Cup Series. Presumably will be in a Toyota. So that is kind of a bummer for me, because he has always been a Chevy guy. But I mean, John Force is still John Force, even though he's not in a Ford anymore, and he's gone to Chevy. And that's kind of the same comparison I think of when I think of Jimmy Johnson. As always, any comment, question, concerned about anything happening in the world of NASCAR or motorsports for that matter, you can go ahead and leave it in the comments down below. And while you're there, make sure that you mash that subscribe button so that you do not miss an episode. And you can also check out our second gaming and esport channel, Team Chaos, where you can check out all of our esports stuff. There's a lot of cool stuff happening that we're gearing up for, including the 2024 iRacing Daytona 500. We're going to run at least one of those, if not 2 of those runnings this year. So pretty excited about that, and a shot at getting a 500. That's very much on my bucket list. And you can also log on to arnrace.com for the latest motorsports news in between episodes. ARN, the Motorsports Authority. It is a very rainy day in Southern California, but racing will return to the Coliseum in just a few weeks' time. I cannot wait. So we will go ahead and see you at the track very, very, very soon. I can't wait. For Shifting Gears, I'm Alan Bailey. We'll see you at the track. Bye, Gearheads.